Which NFC South wide receiver should be flying up your rankings? What AFC South veteran might be worth his new price tag? And why is Derrick Henry going to come through for fantasy owners for the umpteenth year in a row? Plus, 11-time FFPC League winner and Pros vs. Joe's drafter Mike Nazarek from Fantasy Football Mastermind joins us to talk Cortland Sutton, Mark Andrews, and so much more. We've got a great show for you. Ferrell, Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Stand the pressure. I've seen greater men than need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Ferrell, Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Ferrell, Elliott.
Solace in the scripture. Are we not all our father's sons? I became a man. Nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations to all of you Bulkaholics and Ferrelliacs. Welcome into the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by the Fantasy Football Players Championship at myffpc.com. I am, of course, your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman. You may know me from the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, the Fantasy Football Players Championship, the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour Extra Reps, and, of course, the Better Sports Network's FFPC Insider Access show at Eric Balkman on the X. Sorry to plug that twice. My co-host, I will bring up the definitive commissioner of fantasy football shortly. Coming up on tonight's show, we're conversing about Calvin Ridley. We're talking about Deebo Samuel, and of course, the 11-time FFPC League champ, including multiple main event league winner and Pros vs. Joe's competitor, Mike Nazarek from Fantasy Football Mastermind. That is at ffmastermind.com, at ffmastermind on the X as well. He's going to drop by and share his knowledge on everything he knows with fantasy football. And quite frankly, Mike has forgotten more about fantasy football than I'll ever know. So glad to have him on coming up in about 12 minutes here. If you want to connect with the show on X, it is at Eric Balkman. I beg your pardon, at HSFF I'm at Eric Balkman. Check out the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship at kffsc.com. You can also post on our Facebook page, facebook.com/HSFF. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. We'll try to get to all the chat room questions, X posts, and emails coming up later on in the show. And quite frankly, if we don't get to it tonight, we will get to it on Extra Reps on Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern. I'll tell you what's going on and who our guest will be for that coming up later on in the show. I want to thank our audio engineer, my best friend Bryce, and of course our producer and mutual friend Rob. Normally I want to tell everybody what's going on with the FFPC. God, there's so much stuff. We got an email today talking about for a first-time FFPC player. You guys have so many formats, so many different choices here. Really appreciate that. Well, we appreciate you for playing. But I will give this heads up to anybody who is looking to draft for $1 million tonight in the FFPC Big Gorilla. We do have openings coming up in the 11 p.m. draft. That is going to start a little bit less than an hour. We got 9 spots there, 10 spots available in the midnight draft. And you say, well, Balky, that sounds like a lot of spots. Keep in mind that this time of year, you're not waiting around long, no matter what format you're playing with the FFPC. They tend to fill pretty fast. So if you want to watch this show and get in the 11 o'clock draft, or watch this show and draft in the midnight one, you will be eligible for the 7 Bananas promo. myffpc.com is where to go for that, to see how you can win free FFPC teams without even playing for them and winning them in fantasy football. Check that out. myffpc.com, the home of the Big Gorilla. $1 million grand prize pays down to 800 spots in the championship round alone. That is myffpc.com. That is my favorite website, but my second favorite website, and that's a close second, kffsc.com, where you can compete against guys like me, many of the guests we've had on this show, the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. The guy who makes that go is at KFFSC Official on the X, kffsc.com. Please welcome in the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Ferrell, Elliott. Good Wednesday evening to you, sir.
Good evening, Balky. How you feeling, buddy?
Feeling good, man. It's that time of the year where, and I'm not complaining, and I'm not looking for sympathy, but I'm not getting a whole lot of sleep. Busy is good. And like Scott Pianowski from Yahoo Fantasy told me one time, Balky, we work in the toy department. Nobody's going to feel bad for us for losing sleep this time of year and working hard, which I love to do. And so, yeah, we're at that time of the year, but I'm just flying on adrenaline at this point. It will be until the NFL season starts, which, Ferrell, 3 weeks from tonight, we have the first NFL game of the season.
We're that close. And, Balky, I'm just working hard to make sure that when you get here, you have all the fried chicken you want. That's so much is going on that we will get to tonight about players, opportunities, injuries. It's truly what fantasy football gives the players a touch of what every general manager and every coach is going through right now. And then it's fascinating with the veteran receivers this year that the people that drafted early and took a flyer and a risk are being rewarded. Terp talked a lot about that when he joined us. And, I'm sure we'll get to Keenan Allen a little bit tonight, but I think that I always thought that Keenan Allen would find a home. I think he's found a wonderful home. But in addition to that, he was he was perhaps the best paid of the bunch. So, and I don't think a lot of people shared the fact with me that he would still be playing. And so yeah, it's just, we got to dig into it tonight, and we got a wonderful guest to dig into it with, don't we?
Yeah, the fantasy football pro, a guy who's been a pro in the fantasy football industry for a long time, 30 plus years, Mike Nazarek, joining us here in a few minutes. And before we get to him, Ferrell, I want to get to some of the big news of the day. And people always, talk about all these injuries. This sucks, all these. And I just point out, like, listen, I've been in this industry. You've been in this industry long enough to understand that people get hurt. People get hurt in the preseason. They get hurt in the offseason. They get hurt in the regular season. Part of crowning $1 million champion is your ability to navigate through these injuries. So while when I talk about Jaden Higgins tonight in this ACL team, it stinks, right? But it's also an opportunity. We found out today from Ian Rappaport earlier this morning that Jaden Higgins tore his ACL in practice yesterday. It was a joint practice, and Higgins was supposed to be the number 2 wide receiver this year, paired across from Nico Collins for the Texans. Last year, he cleared 500 receiving yards and 6 touchdowns as a rookie, and mostly used downfield, whatever. But I will say that there were a lot of people banking on a big breakout, including the Texans coaches and the Texans beat writers, talking about what a force this guy was going to be this year. We have to look at the new normal. The new normal is Higgins is not going to be a part of fantasy drafts until next year, which, by the way, when FFPC and KFFSC open drafting in January, Ferrell, Higgins might be a little bit of a value in the 2027 season. But we look at this season. Xavier Hutchinson was working as the number 3 receiver. He's probably going to be the number 2. People who are drafting Tank Dell late, Jalen Noel, who's battling an injury of his own right now, those guys are probably going to feature more prominently into the discussion. You also have to look at the standpoint of Houston in investing in the offensive line this year, both in the draft and in free agency. And maybe this just means more David Montgomery, more of Woody Marks. I don't know. But in the immediate fallout, which is still fresh in our minds, Ferrell, no Higgins this year. What does this mean? How are you drafting Texans not named Nico Collins? How much is it driving up the draft rankings for you with Noel, with Dell, with Montgomery, so on and so forth?
Yeah, Hutchinson, I've always liked him as a player. I think given the opportunity, he will shine. The quarterback at the end of the year. He had a terrible run through the playoffs in the end of the year. It was like 2 touchdowns and 7 picks. He's got to straighten that out. And a lot of that comes from the offensive line. Their ability to run the ball with Montgomery will be better. So I'm willing to take that shot with Xavier Hutchinson. I was drafting in the Big Gorilla, and one of my proudest picks was our injured Houston wide receiver. Yeah. 10th round, and I said, this team's really coming together if I can get him in double-digit rounds, and it did. So, yeah, that's part of it. And so will dig for more. And you're right. Given the opportunity to play, Hutchinson could develop himself to be the kind of player that we hope he is.
I'll bring this up too from the Opera Doc, and I think I know who Opera Doc is. I have to email him because I'm pretty sure I know who it is, and he's been on this show before. But Opera Doc saying that the others are slot guys, Tank Dell, Jalen Noel, and they're hurt. He says Nico Collins is going to eat more, which is interesting, Ferrell, because Nico Collins is in this glut right now in the early third round in FFPC Big Gorilla leagues, where he is right behind London and Olave. He's ahead of Neighbors and Rice. And I almost wonder, now that people know that we could see a higher volume of targets going to Nico Collins, that he moves ahead of Olave. And we're going to get into the Saints in a second here. But he moves ahead of Olave. He moves ahead of Drake London. Hell, maybe he even threatens A.J. Brown, who's going at the 209. Maybe Collins moves up there. How bullish are you on Nico Collins, knowing that there will be no target competition between Collins and Higgins this year for C.J. Stroud? For C.J. Stroud.
A meaningless fantasy football stat. The number 2 position receiver here will have a role in this team, whoever he is. And Collins is going to get the same amount of targets, independent of who that number 2 receiver is. Not more, not less, but the same. Football teams don't work that way. They've got to make the number 2 receiver work. Now, our good friend just made a comment on the tight end, and that opens up the route tree. Joe King says Schultz sneaky volume upside down.
Your guy, Ferrell. I know you're a big Dalton Schultz guy.
And Joe King obviously is too. And you figure in the FFPC what 1.5 points and 1.5 more catches could do, because it opens up the route. It opens up the check downs for the quarterback as to what order he moves through his route progression. So
go ahead. Sorry.
So Schultz, yeah. So if you take Schultz and you say he's going to get 25 more passes, well, that's 37.5 more fantasy points. 25 may be added to what everyone expects, which would be 60. Now you're looking at 80 to 85. Yeah. So
our guy Mile High Stello also said with no Higgins, that definitely bumps up both Collins and Dalton Schultz. How can the best target earner in that offense not earn at least a couple more targets per game? I'm with you. I understand what Ferrell's saying. I'm with you, Stello. A couple more targets per game probably will help. But getting back to Schultz, and I think this is underrated. Ferrell, you and I are of the same mind. He's already being underdrafted. Yes. I'm looking at FFPC main event data right now, courtesy of Fantasy Mojo, at Fantasy Mojo on X, fantasymojo.com. If you have any FFPC teams, get a subscription to fantasymojo.com. It will be worth its weight in gold, especially in the pre-draft season, as Darren Armani, the godfather of the Pros versus Joes and webmaster at Fantasy Mojo, will tell you. Dalton Schultz, dude, is not even being drafted as a backup tight end right now, Ferrell. He is tight end 25 at the 1409. Now, knowing the stuff about Higgins, he's going to move ahead of Aronde Gadsden. He probably should already be ahead of Aronde Gadsden, who I'm super down on. I could see him moving ahead of a lot of guys here. Dulcich, TJ Hawkinson, Kenyon Sadiq, maybe Hunter Henry. I don't know. And then you get in the Brenton Strange territory, but that's like 3 rounds higher. So I expect a 3-round move for Schultz up draft boards right now. The FFPC main event, by the way, also features $1 million grand prize. And once you register that first team, you are getting $600 off each additional team. And by the way, the FFPC main event pacing ahead of last year's numbers. So don't, as Ferrell always says, don't be a wish I had. Get into the FFPC now, myffpc.com for the FFPC main event. Okay.
And what I want to reference with my Stello, because I think that's a good observation, but what I want to say about Collins in this offense, he's already maxed out. There's only so much you can get out of him. So what would be a failure and what would actually take targets away from Collins is if the other receivers are so inept, if they can't get separation, if they can't catch the ball. Some guys they don't have it. They don't have the relationship with the quarterback on the field that it should be. They're not in rhythm. If there's a lot of things that are done to frustrate the number 2 receiver in Houston, now defenses can shade a safety over to Collins' size. They can take away some of those opportunities to Collins. Hell, it could be worse. So you've really got to, if you want Collins to do well, you've got to root for that number 2 wide receiver. And so I would say that that's what you need to be concerned with, is how good the number 2 receiver and even the number 3 receiver looks for Houston in Thursday night's preseason game against the Raiders.
Ferrell, last point. I want to move on and talk about this Jordan Tyson injury, but last point, CJ Stroud, we have to talk about this just briefly. How much does this Higgins injury affect him from a fantasy standpoint?
It's problematic from a competition and then a fantasy standpoint, because the club is trying to put together everything to be perfect for this player. They're trying to put together a situation to help this player move off of the problems that he had last year. He's a good player, a good quarterback. I think the culture and the practice of the football team is where the quarterback needs to improve. He needs a little belief in himself, needs a little swagger. And it came apart at the end of the year, and I think they spent the offseason putting it back together. But they are a football team. They're just not – it's not Higgins and nothing else. So, there's a good chance that they pick up and go on. And look, it's not the last week of preseason camp. We've got a little time before the season starts to get things together. And this is a capable player. Hutchinson, is this his 4th year in the league? I couldn't
That's
recall.
a good question. Yeah, I'm going to look that up.
Recall. Right, he's this kind of player that's the kind of player that's very, very valuable. He's going to stay in the league a while.
Ferrell, this will be Xavier Hutchinson, or Xavier. I don't know how to pronounce it. Yeah. Adam Hahn will tell. Adam Hahn's in the chat.
Yeah, he will. Adam Hahn will come in here and tell us.
This will be his 4th year. Hutchinson's 4th year in the league. So Stroud still has a good running game, still has an improved offensive line, still has a fantastic defense that will all help him going forward. Okay, let's go over from Houston. We go to New Orleans. Not a long trip, by the way. Jordan Tyson, according to Ian Rappaport, is saying that Tyson is going to miss, or expected to miss, about 2 months starting yesterday. So this would be like mid-October. He should be back. This was a injury that occurred last Thursday in practice, and it was a hamstring injury. And we know Jordan Tyson and his hamstring injuries. By the way, get him up to Madison, Wisconsin. The people that fixed Christian Watson, fix Jordan Tyson too. That'd be great. But this is stuff that's been bad. He's been battling the last couple of years, obviously in college at Arizona State as well. He saw second opinions after this hamstring injury. And according to Rappaport, mid-October is what we're looking at right now. He is a player that is teammates with fellow draft picks this year, Bryce Lance, Trey Lance's brother, and then Barry and Brown out of LSU. But the guy, and I've drafted him in a couple of KFFSC best ball leagues late, and we'll see what happens with Devon Vele. Maybe that's not a great best ball choice, since we know Tyson will be back ostensibly at some point here. But this stinks for Tyson owners. How do we capitalize? I know, and I can't remember. Oh, it was Adam Hahn saying Tyler Shook loves him some Juwan Johnson, and he does. This is a good thing for Juwan Johnson. This is a good thing for Chris Olave. Is it a good thing? And we know Alvin Kamara is out a month with an MCL sprain too. Is this a good thing for anybody else in this Saints offense? Players that you are, in addition to Olave and Johnson, Ferrell, that you're looking at in New Orleans, and maybe Vele too, that you're looking at drafting at this point.
Time will tell, and I think we're going to see, especially with Kamara gone, a lot of 2 and perhaps 3 tight end sets, and that will be good for Johnson. Vele is, I think you made a good pick for best ball. You can only look back to last season when he had an 8-catch game against Miami. This is a player that did not get a great deal of opportunity at Denver. I've heard some scouts say, looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane, but I don't think that's fair on this player. I think this player is gotten better every year that he's in the league, and I think he showed it at the end of last year. The quarterback got better at the end of last year too. And their relationship propelled both of them. If people want to see who they might be sleeping on, go look at Shuck, the quarterback, because there's your guy that really put up in the last 6 to 8 weeks of the season some numbers that would possibly put him, well, no, I think they would have put him in the top 12 quarterbacks, maybe even flirting with the top 8. So there's belief that Vele can get the job done. We saw him do it at the end of the year, and I'm glad to see him put together his career. So he's going to have more of a role and more of a defined role. Tip the hat to my old pal Bobby Sangerman, and the defined role is what you're counting on for players in this situation.
So
and I think he was in the 19th round the other night, and I didn't take him.
I'll bring this up too with Devon Vele. The Broncos traded him for a 4th round pick this year, which actually turned out to be Jonah Coleman, and a 2027 7th round pick. So it's not like they gave up nothing for him. They gave up something significant. I want to bring this up, the Opera Doc talking about, and Ferrell, maybe you can kind of explain this a little bit better. He says, by your logic, Chris Olave won't have more targets because he's the number 1 receiver, and he was already slated for a bunch. With Nico Collins. But I think it's interesting to talk about.
It's team specific. Here, you have a different kind of quarterback. He moves around a little bit more with his feet. He's got more of, especially with Kamara, he had a better idea about how to drop the ball down. He's got a situation that was it Adam that talked about. Adam talked about the tight end, Juwan Johnson.
Yep.
He's got a downfield tight end is a big target in the red zone. There's things that are different about the New Orleans offense that at Houston is approached much differently in a more secure and kind of like a run game. One of the listeners said New Orleans plays fast and Houston plays slow, and that's about the smartest thing that I could say about that. So that's why it's different, because Houston was already leaning on Collins as much as they can. Olave is the most important piece of the puzzle and the top piece of the puzzle in New Orleans, but the quarterback knows how to utilize the other talent in the receiver room a little bit better than what's going on at Houston.
Speaking of which, and you I mentioned that I had been taking him in Devon Vele late in best ball drafts. I will say prior to this injury, in regards to Devon Vele, he was going as the wide receiver 81 in the 18th round of the FFPC Best Ball Tournament. So certainly this dude is going to rise. I've seen him go as early as the late 15th over the last couple of days. He's going to rise higher than that. When you talk about, Joe King pointed this out, Ferrell, you agreed with him, the fast offense. Kellen Moore runs a ton of plays in New Orleans, and this could be a big thing, even if it's just for the first couple months of the season. And by the way, even if Tyson comes back in mid-October, that is not a guarantee that he's going to be healthy the rest of the way, too. So Vele could be a very interesting best ball pick. And if you want to take him and take advantage of this depressed ADP, join the FFPC Best Ball Tournament, a tourney that featured a $300,000 grand prize last year. We scratched that. We threw it out this year. $400,000 is the grand prize in the FFPC Best Ball Tournament. Take your shot now. I would say that tournament, along with all our tournaments, they're filling faster than they were last year. But I would get in on the Best Ball Tournament as soon as possible to make sure that you are taking your shot at this $400K grand prize at myffpc.com. All right, we have made our guest wait way too long. I apologize to our guest, and I'll apologize to him later when he's on the stream as well, because he is fantasy, not even FFPC, Ferrell. He is fantasy football royalty. Why? Because he's got 30-plus years fantasy football analyst experience. He operates one of the longest running, maybe the longest running fantasy football information website since 1996. So we're talking about 30 years that this website has been in existence. How many websites can say that? I would say very few, if any. His primary claim to fame, and I bring this up every year he comes on the show, but I think it's important to understand. He won the Sports Illustrated Experts League title for 4 consecutive seasons from 2004 until 2007. He is the only winner of that league in its 4 years of existence. Why did they give it up? Because this dude kept winning it every year, and it wasn't that compelling to offer it anymore because you knew this guy was going to be the champion. 4 straight years of this industry league, and he won it every single year. He is the CEO. He is the president of Fantasy Football Mastermind Incorporated at ffmastermind.com, and you follow him on X at ffmastermind. Please welcome back onto the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, the 11-time FFPC High Stakes League champion, Mr. Michael Nazarek. Mike, good evening, sir.
Hey guys, it's great to be back, and here we are. Welcome to Las Vegas.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Which, by the way, Mike, I always feel bad because I see you out at Planet Hollywood. Last year we were at Paris or whatever, and I feel bad because I always want to sit down and pick your brain, and I never get the chance because I'm always so busy out there. But it is always good to see your shining face at the FFPC live events. Something that you could say from personal experience. It's a lot of fun.
It certainly is. I've been playing in the FFPC since day one.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always great to come down to the strip and mingle with other people and talk to you guys, and really hyped about all the drafts and everything that goes on. It's really exciting.
It's very exciting, and I want to talk to you not only about your pros versus Joe's team, and we'll get into that a little bit tonight, but I definitely want to get into sort of like the players that you're taking a stand on, both positive and negatively. And I think a lot of the listeners, the viewers, they want to hear what you have to say about Christian McCaffrey. I think back, Mike, and I know you know this too, 2024, he was dealing with an injury in preseason. We were told it wasn't serious. And oh, by the way, I'll tell this story too that's just hitting my head. Opera Doc, I talked to at the FFPC live events, and he asked me in 2024, and I feel awful about this, but he asked me about Christian McCaffrey and what I would do. And I told him, like, yeah, I'm not concerned. I think he's fine. And then Opera Doc told me, he's like, yeah, I don't think he's fine. And I'm very worried about it because I don't know if he was a co-manager with you in this main event or not. He might have been. But I know he did not take McCaffrey, and he was paid off in spades for not taking McCaffrey that year because that was the smart play. And now we fast forward, Mike, to 2026. He's dealing with tightness right now. Given what we saw happen to him in 2024, we were told it was nothing serious, and he hardly played that season. What's your level of concern about McCaffrey at this moment in time?
Well, I know all about Christian because I own him on both of my dynasty leagues in FFPC. And it's one reason why I stayed away from him last year. Here we are again, and it's after he's come off a great, fantastic year. He's got this tightness, and then people are talking about, well, maybe he's holding in for a new deal because the last year of his contract's undervalued. He's got no guaranteed money. They say it's real. I don't know. The bottom line is the way I view this is that in ADP up in the first round there, you've got so many good other running back options like Jonathan Taylor, James Cook. I mean, basically sandwiching CMC. You got Chase Brown, Ashton Genty. So the way I always view this is that you can't win your league in the first round, but I think you can certainly lose it. So why take that chance? If it's up to me, and I do have a latter round pick in one of my main event drafts, and I am not planning on taking CMC. I hope he stays healthy because it'll help me continue to win in my dynasty league. But that's like other people say on the show. I already got shares of him, and why put all your gold in one pot, right?
It's yes, and Mike, I drew the Magic 5 in one of my main events, and I know he's going to be there, and so not everyone has the luxury of even dodging that bullet, but it is an obligation to figure out, and I will probably flip back and forth several times before I get there. But how'd you like your introduction tonight? I mean, when we do get to Planet Hollywood, you're going to not only be a mastermind, but you're going to have to sing and dance and do impressions. And there's a lot of things you're going to have to do with the introduction you had tonight. But I really like your answer there, and I think it will bring wisdom. So, but where would you pull that trigger on CMC?
Well, hold on, Mike. Before you answer that, I'm going to bring up the Baby Gorilla ADP on McCaffrey because you mentioned, and by the way, I'm kind of with you on this. Like, I would take Taylor over him, I would take Genty over him, I would take Cook over him. But then after that, you get into the Baby Gorilla ADP where you get into Chase Brown at the 201. You get into Devon Achane, who I thought was going later, but he's not. He's going on average over the last couple of days in the Baby Gorilla at the 204. And then you get the people, the crazies out there, which I might be one of them, drafting Kenneth Walker at the start of the second round. Omari and Hampton's been slipping a little bit. We still have Derrick Henry. We'll get into him in a little bit, and Saquon Barkley. By the way, if you're wanting to join the FFPC Baby Gorilla, it is your entry into the high stakes forum. If you always wanted to play before, entry fee was too high. It's $125 to join the Baby Gorilla and $100,000 grand prize. You're still managing your lineups, placing your bids, placing waivers every single week. You take your shot at a six-figure grand prize now at myffpc.com with the Baby Gorilla. But I think Ferrell's question rings true here, Mike. If you are, and like I know this may not apply to everybody, but if you are sitting there at the end of the first round and guys like Achane and Walker and Chase Brown and Hampton, all these guys are staring you in the face, and McCaffrey's still out there, would you pull the trigger on McCaffrey then, or are you still looking elsewhere?
Oh, that's a toughie. It's a toughie. Probably it would depend on what position I took in the first round, to be honest with you. Because I think that obviously it's a less of a risk if you took McCaffrey as a 2 rather than a 1.
Right.
So if you ended up with say a James Cook, and then you felt like you wanted to double up at a running back position and CMC slid to maybe the 2-2, 2-3, something like that, then the value might just be too tough to pass up if your plan is to get 2 early running backs there. Then the question is, who's the primary backup? We got Jordan James, the second-year guy, but he's got a broken rib. He hasn't come back in practice yet. Kayleon Black just came back, and now he's been actually impressing in camp the last 2 days, but we still got 3 weeks to go, like you guys said earlier, until the season begins. So who's going to be the primary backup? I think it's going to be Jordan James if he can come back and show in practice at least for a week before the season begins. But it could be a mixture of both. And you're just going to, if you take CMC, just be aware you're going to be like this the whole season.
So hold on, just real quick, Ferrell. Mike, in regards to the whole aspect of like what you did in the first round, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I'm trying to clarify this. If you took a receiver in the first round, you'd be more than likely not to take McCaffrey in the second. However, if you took a running back in the first round, you'd be more than likely to take McCaffrey in the second. Just explain that a little bit.
Personally, I probably would not take McCaffrey if I had a wide receiver in the first round, because that's not my game plan right now. I don't want to give away too much because I'm in this event multiple times, like multiple main events. And, I'm trying to give my real opinion on things, but I believe that if things stay the way they are right now, he's going to go in the first round. I don't think he's going to slide into the second round. There's just too much value there if he stays healthy. It was the same thing last year because we had a late first round pick last year, and he was sliding, and he didn't get to us. And I thought, we're going to have the dreaded McCaffrey decision here, and it didn't make it to us. So.
Well, you're going to have a chance now. I got to ask this question. You're going to have a chance now to say something nice about Derrick Henry.
Oh,
go.
I love me some Henry. Guess what, guys? I also own Derrick Henry on my CMC team, one of them in the FFPC. So, I drafted him like 6 years ago, too, 6 or 7 years ago. And he's helped me win 2 fantasy championships on that team. So I don't see any slowdown. This guy is special. He's different. He has a workout routine that's crazy. He stays healthy for the most part. They're going to run right. I mean, it takes him a while now to get going, but once he gets going, long touchdown runs. I mean, he can have like 30 yards on 6 or 7 carries in the middle of the second quarter and then just rip off a 60-yard touchdown run. It's a difference maker for your team. And to me, he's one of the most valued picks in the draft where he's going right now, late second round. It's just kind of out of my mind about it.
I think that's a great assessment. And one of the things that I'm looking forward to is to see them when they get in the red zone, especially when they get inside the 10, that he not mysteriously disappear from the field. I hope the new coaching staff will somehow keep him. And I don't know the stats about how often he wasn't on the field when they were inside the 10, but damn, it always seemed like when I looked, he wasn't there. Do you see any uptick in him catching passes this year?
Probably not. He's probably going to catch somewhere, would you get 20, 25 passes? You're drafting Derrick Henry for the scores. What do you have, 18 last year?
Yeah.
I think he's a lock for 6. If he can stay healthy, he is 16 plus this year again. There will be games. Yeah, his bad game might be 100 yards rushing and 1 catch, no score. But you can take that. If you're drafting him in the second round, and he's your number 2. Then certainly, I mean, it's you're ahead of the game, and then you just load up on wide receiver. So then we get into draft strategy. But the bottom line here is that he is good. He is very good at the goal. And remember when he was a tight end, I think they might have done this once as a Raven. I can't remember. The jump pass where they give it to him and he throws it. Yeah, that happened multiple times as a tight end, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that maybe to Jacoby Lane, somebody I'm going to mention a little bit later. But yeah, we'll see.
I absolutely love the ability of the Ravens, especially with their tight ends, to block, and that's why I think he might catch a few more passes. But it's fascinating to see him run after he catches the pass. That's one of the things, especially if he can get past the first defender. So yeah, I mean, look, I just enjoy seeing a guy play, and he will be a target for me in every draft. It's not
I look at it from Henry. Like, I've never been a Henry guy because I love my running backs to catch passes. But starting in 2023, I think maybe 2024, I was like, I got to get Henry in a few spots. Just to make sure I have some shares of him this year. And by the way, he hasn't let me down. I was listening to Adam Levitan talk about him on the Establish the Run podcast today, and Levitan's like, and I'm with him on this. I've seen no evidence to say that Henry's falling down, like he is. The cliff is coming this year. I have not seen it. Mike Nazarek has not seen it yet. Ferrell Elliott has not seen it. We are on the Derrick Henry train now, staying in the backfield, Mike. But a backfield that is all of a sudden a little bit different for the remainder of August. It's Kyle Monangai, DeAndre Swift, and this Bears backfield. Ben Johnson, the head coach there, said Monangai is going to be week to week with a hyperextended knee. Multiple reports saying he's going to miss multiple weeks. And I would say that most of those reports are also saying that he's probably not in too much danger of missing the start of the regular season. But Mike, I think about this over the next, whatever I said, 3 weeks until the NFL season starts. We should see Monangai fall, and we should see Swift go up in ADP right now, knowing that that's probably going to be the case because we draft with our eyes. We're seeing Swift on the field. We're seeing Monangai on the sideline. What is the proper way to attack this Bears backfield? Should we be buying the dip on Monangai, or is this the time to make sure that we're getting Swift on our team as a number 2, perhaps depending upon our build, maybe even a number 3 running back in high stakes leagues in the FFPC this year?
What you just said. I'm a Swift guy. Ben Johnson loves him, had him when he was in Detroit. Swift has not been anything lower than an RB20 the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And last year, he looked good when he had the ball. And yes, they sub out Monangai liberally, but guess what? That keeps Swift healthy because he's more of a slender guy. He's slithery and everything. And when they get around the goal line early in the game, it goes to Swift. He also catches passes. What's not to like with Swift? I like him. You can get him right before that RB dead zone in round 5 and 6, that I like to stay away from. So definitely you get him as a 2. He's solid as a 2, I think, depending on who you draft for a wide receiver and all. But if you can get him as a 3, it's fantastic value.
Mike, last year we went to Planet Hollywood in Paris, and based on 2024 statistics, Zay Flowers was what was he, Balky? Late 3rd, early 4th?
I'll look it up right now on Mojo.
This is in 25's draft. And his 24 performance was 74 catches, 1,000 yards, 4 touchdowns. I'd like a little more touchdowns. But if you were to tell someone I got a receiver, he's got 1,000 yards, he's got 7 touchdowns, he'll catch the same number of balls. Where would you expect that player to be drafted in 2026? At Planet Hollywood?
And I'll say this, Mike, before you answer. 2025 main event drafts, according to Fantasy Mojo, which, by the way, you can go back and look at this in previous years. Zay Flowers, wide receiver 29 at the 604. That's where he was going off at the end of the 2025 drafting season. But, yeah, Mike, I'll let you weigh in on where you land in on Flowers right now. And I'll bring this up in Big Gorilla drafts this year. Over the last 2 days, you're looking at Zay Flowers being wide receiver. Ooh, I just had it. I'm sorry. I just missed it now. Zay Flowers is going off the board at wide receiver 15, Mike, the 309, right behind Devonta Smith and right ahead of McConkey. But, Mike, go ahead and answer Ferrell's question about Flowers.
So I'm sorry.
See, the phone is ringing off the hook.
Phone. Somebody is calling me.
People are.
That sounds like a landline too.
Yeah,
it's gonna kick off here, and I can't really turn it off, but it'll kick off. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So the question.
This is the effect.
That was one of your girlfriends.
Doing that. No.
The question was, where would I expect a guy that's going to catch 70 passes for 1,000 yards and 7 scores to go in the draft, or
to go in this year's draft? Just a generic player that have those kind of numbers. Where's he going to go there?
By the way, Cam Jones saying right now, Zay Flowers is calling you. So if this is the case, and Mike, I know you're connected with the NFL. If
this was a small detour to my real question, and boy,
Okay. I can just say this is that, Zay Flowers, I like him, but last year Lamar Jackson got hurt. He doesn't seem to be that much of a red zone guy, and that's probably the problem there. And I see maybe even, I would say less this year because there's no likely. So I think Mark Andrews is going to play more. He's going to get more red zone looks, and then you got the emergence of Jacoby Lane there. So if it was to be between me and Zay Flowers and like a guy like Lad McConkey, I'm going to take McConkey all the time.
Well, Your Honor, I would like to offer an objection. If we could get the witness to answer the question, but we'll move off of that question, and I'll tell you this is what
asked and answered.
Well, no, because I asked, it didn't have anything to do with McConkey. It's just the numbers. And, 86 catches then for Flowers. I obviously was overpaying for Flowers last year, but I did get paid with the 86 catches. The statistical year that one Cortland Sutton had in 2025 was equal to the Zay Flowers year from 2024, except more touchdown. It's odd to believe that Cortland Sutton in October this year will turn 31 years old. And I don't think he's ever going to be the receiver that some of us hoped and thought he might have been for fantasy football back in the early days of his career. But I think with Waddle coming in with the team and then another year, the maturation of the quarterback and the kind of team they have around, I think Sutton is a pretty significant value if he just repeats last year. And if he can go beyond that, he becomes a real bonus. Because, Balky, I have been drafting, and I got some recency memory that this player is pretty much a 7th-round draft pick, I think, right now.
I will look it up. For sure.
Your thoughts on Cortland Sutton. What do you do with the player? Because as much as we love running backs, CMC aside, as much as we love running backs, we're going to need a pretty good receiver in the 7th round. Is Cortland Sutton one of them?
He sure is. In fact, the value is much better taking him early in the 7th, late in the 6th than Waddle in the 4th. Because I know Waddle is very talented and he's younger, but you're moving to a new system, new quarterback. Everyone thinks all of a sudden he's going to be the one there, and he's probably going to catch more passes if he can stay healthy. That's the other thing. Waddle is more. You got the injury bug nagging things here and there. He's playing hurt, and he'll leave the game for a while and then come back in and gut it out and all. And Sutton's been so consistent. He doesn't draw all the targets that you want him to draw, but it seems that anytime they need a big catch in the corner of the end zone, big arms go up, catch the ball. It's Cortland Sutton, and he's getting the score. And I own him in my dynasty too. And I believe that I drafted him in the Pros versus Joes, didn't I?
Yep. Yeah, you did. Absolutely.
So I'm very happy with Cortland Sutton. And everyone can think that Waddle's that much difference. I don't think there's a 3 round gap between these two. I've got them ranked almost close together on my rankings.
I don't either, and he's got experience with the quarterback. Adam Hahn, I'd like to take that bet with a big payoff coming for me in 2027. I can already, the futures of my world's looking a lot better if Adam will actually get in touch with me and make a bet.
Regarding Pat Bryant, now
that's true. That's Pat Bryant's coming for anybody's job, and most likely just trying to keep his. But I don't know if Pat's going to do anything for us in fantasy football.
He might. I don't know. The thing is,
we're not going to write him off.
No, we're not, because the price is super low on Bryant. I've been drafting Bryant late for sure. Mike Nazarek did indeed take Cortland Sutton in round 7. It was the 703 as his number 3 receiver behind Chase, behind Olave. After he already had a tight end and 3 running backs, he gets Sutton on board. Team Nazarek in pros versus Joes.
He's drafting like a Joe. I think you were a Joe before you.
Well, and that sounds no, he was not. He was always a pro. But I will say,
he's always a pro. Well, he had a website before the internet was invented.
Well, yes, that. But the thing is with Mike is he's been a pro, but he's always drafted with the Joes. In Las Vegas.
The first time I saw Mike, he was a guest on the Johnny Carson show. He sat next to Ed McMahon and they talked football. I saw Mike before anybody did. You were in the 8th grade back then, Mike.
Yeah, I was. Mike, have you sat next to Ed McMahon and Johnny Carson on the Tonight Show?
I saw that. I saw it on the Carson show.
I don't want to say anything. It's
All right. So let's get into this. That's our Cortland Sutton discussion. I have to get into another receiver. That probably his best football is behind him, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be a good draft pick this year. Deebo Samuel has re-signed with the 49ers, where he did have his best production of his career. 1 year off in Washington. Mike, he comes back to San Francisco in the wake of Ricky Pearsall's season-ending IR stint. This is a player that is probably going to feature into the game plan in San Francisco. But specifically, what kind of fantasy season is Samuel going to have this year? What are you doing with Deebo Samuel? Tell us a little bit about him back as a 49er.
Yeah, that's a good signing for the 49ers because they just lost Ricky Pearsall. Devon Stribling is emerging, but he's a rookie. You got George Kittle that may or may not play in week 1. I'm not sure if he's going to make that trip all the way to Australia, but he's going to be slowly ramped up. And of course, you got Mike Evans, and now he's got the quad, icing it down and all. I think he'll be okay and all, but it's a good signing for the team because he knows the system, he knows the head coach, they know how to use him. You're going to see him running to keep CMC fresh. You're going to see him probably returning some kicks here and there, and you're going to see some gadget plays and all. But also, he is a very good receiver, and just flat out get him the ball. And I would guesstimate something around 60 catches for around 700 yards. And let's see, I think I had. 6 catches, six scores. I think 5 or 6 scores, something like that. So something like a WR4 for fantasy, somebody that you can plug in, especially during the bye weeks, as long as he's healthy. There's that issue there too. But if he's healthy, it's somebody that's going to help you. When a lot of your normal starters are out. I think it's a good signing by the team.
I like that. A good draft by the team happened in New York when. They took Mr. Malachi up there, Mr. Malachi Fields. I don't think there's a lot I like about this player. What people don't like about him is he doesn't have separation speed. 4.6 40, but man, he can move. And he caught a big touchdown in the first preseason game and looked good doing it. What I saw him do was play gunner on special teams and make a big tackle. I think he's an excellent football player. I don't think he's going to help us in fantasy football early. Maybe he helps us later. Your thoughts on the 22-year-old ex-Notre Dame wide receiver?
Oh, I like him. And guess what? This is another guy that I drafted on almost all my dynasty teams. Now, I am a little bit of a homer because I'm a big New York Giants fan. I'm from New York originally. And, of course, I got the OBJ catch picture here with the signature on the wall. But the bottom line is that Malik Neighbors, we're not sure if he's going to start. And even if he starts come week 1, he might not be 100%. I think that Fields can almost immediately slot in as a two wide receiver. He's going to be on the field, of course, with Darnell Mooney or Darius Slayton and different things and formats and such. And, of course, Isaiah Likely is going to get a lot of targets in this offense. But I think he can be the guy that he just made the catch there. This is like a Plaxico Burress type of receiver. You're going to be able to throw the ball up on the run like Dart did, throw a dart threw a dart right to him in the corner. He went up and over the quarterback, made the catch. And that's the type of impact that he's going to make. I'm not saying he's going to catch a lot of passes immediately and all, but I think that when he does catch passes, it's going to count and it's going to be meaningful ball. And I'm excited for both the Giants and for anyone that owns Malachi Fields, because I think by the time bye weeks start, he's going to be under consideration for anyone that owns him to see if you want to start him over somebody like maybe a Deebo Samuel that is dinged or whatnot. And maybe because Kittle has come back and they're not throwing to him as much, so there's a lot of potential there. I like it. I love the kid long-term for the Giants.
Barkey, what's Barron say we got to spend to get Malachi Fields?
Well, okay. So right now with Field, like spending, you can leave your wallet at home. Whatever pocket change you have in the FFPC Big Gorilla, that will be enough to afford Malachi Fields, as he right now is wide receiver 78 at 1804. Now, in regards to Fields and Dynasty, Mike, I'm totally with you. I think he's a fantastic Dynasty choice. I think about, not that, because I still am kind of high on Likely this year, but I saw in that first preseason game, Theo Johnson getting more run than Likely, which to me suggests like, oh, maybe, and like you mentioned, the nebulous status of Malik Neighbors right now. Maybe Fields is going to actually be this guy that's not only integral at the end of the season when all the money is being paid out in the FFPC, but integral early on in the season that can help you get to the championship round. Something to think about there as well. Now, I want to bring this up, Mike, with your Pros versus Joe's draft. You were in the last draft that Ferrell and I covered live on the FFPC socials, on the streams. And you end up taking Calvin Ridley, I believe, as your number 7 wide receiver, number 6 or number 7 from the 3 spot. But you didn't take him until the 16th round. And I noticed, and I know you noticed this too, multiple people kind of calling you out on Ridley. And I thought that was kind of weird for anybody. Like, number one, to call out anybody on a 16th round pick. Okay, whatever. I think that's bizarre. It's 16th round. You're not soaking anything into it. But you recognize not only the upside that Ridley has this season at that draft capital, but the fact of the format of Pros versus Joes, I think, played into that as well. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about why you love Ridley in best ball this year.
Oh, yeah. I think he's still got the talent there. He may be a little bit slower, of course, coming off the broken leg there, but he looks healthy. He had a catch in the preseason game the other day. I know he's probably going to be the 3rd wide receiver in there with Wan'Dale Robinson, Carnell Tate and all. But the bottom line is that this is a best ball format. All he needs to do is pop for me 2, 3, 4 times in a year, and it's going to be well worth the 16th round pick, because when I say pop, I'm not just talking like one catch for 20 yards and a score. I mean, I think he's going to have some games where he'll have 4 or 5 catches for over 100 in a score. And, people are going to be surprised on this because Carnell Tate is still a rookie here, and Cam Ward is starting to slowly emerge. And we know how reliable Wan'Dale Robinson is, but a lot of things he's going to catch the short passes. It's Calvin Ridley's specialty is going to be the longer passes, and those are the ones that really make an impact.
Making an impact at the rookie core of wide receivers at the Miami Dolphins is Caleb Douglas, and that's the one that everyone's attention. And Balky was talking in Balky, your Theo Johnson and Likely a situation. I think that's a situation where there's nothing in football more forgettable than the first preseason game. That's all I can say. I think that's the biggest thing. But I'm still waiting for the first preseason game from University of Louisville wide receiver Chris Bell. And I've been drafting Bell very, very late. And I think based on a lot of things that happened, you can make a case for a lot of other wide receivers to be drafted, according to Darren at the Mojo, at the 18, 19, and 20 spot. But I have great respect for Chris Bell. He's working hard to get back. He just got named just off the list where he could practice. He's still wearing the red jersey, the no contact jersey. Mike, you know it all, and you are the mastermind, which means you know every corner of professional football there is to know. What can you tell us about Mr. Chris Bell, and what do you think he can do in Miami? Is he a late season potential scorer for you?
I think so. I think you hit the nail on the head. He's coming off the torn ACL. He's a very talented receiver. Would have been drafted earlier if not for that injury. He's been activated, so he's off the NFI list, but he's still got the non-contact injury, and then that might carry into the season. He might miss the first game or two, and they might ease him in and see how he takes the contact and all. But he's got a lot of talent, and I believe they took him. Didn't they take him before Caleb Douglas in the draft? So
I'm sure they did.
Yeah. So I think by mid-season, late season, and guess what? That's another guy that I drafted in one of my dynasty drafts on FFPC. I took him instead of Antonio Williams because of his big play potential down the road. He not only, I think, is going to be a starter, but, could be a real big impact player there. I'm just a little concerned about Malik Willis. We don't know what we really have there, but, if it works out there, then and Chris Bell becomes healthy, then he will definitely make an impact down the road and will probably help some people.
One of the things I like about Bell is his ability to get free in the crossing patterns. A big body, but once he catches the ball, he's got long speed, and I think that's what this quarterback needs. He can, if a linebacker misses on this guy, it's way too late for anyone else to catch him. It's going to be a pleasure watching him play for Miami, and then the quarterback here is one of Balky's favorites, so I'm trying to arm him with whoever we can.
Well, I'll just say this. Both Bell and Douglas were third-round picks, and Douglas obviously is the darling. You see him mentioned as a potential starter week 1. But the get in this class for Miami, in my opinion, and I think Mike's opinion as well, it's Bell. Like this guy has future wide receiver 1 written all over him. Maybe not in 2026, but certainly 2027. You think about where he would go in dynasty drafts in 2027, and it's certainly much higher than. And by the way, in like KFFSC dynasty, I was getting sniped. I was getting sniped on him at the end of the first round there because people were still drafting him highly. And Mike took him in the 18th round of his Pros versus Joe's team this year. I think that we are going to see some pretty good returns. I think Ferrell has sold me on Chris Bell, especially with Mike Nazarek coming in tonight, selling me on Chris Bell.
He hammered it home. I just sort of put the nail in the wall, and that was it.
That's all it took. That's all it took for me and Chris Bell. Okay, let's get into some emails tonight for you, Mike. And the first one is Harry in Irving, Texas. He writes, "Hey, are you into Mark Andrews at his current price, given that Likely is gone and Jackson is healthy?" So I'll just bring this up right now. And by the way, thank you for the email, Harry. We appreciate that. I'll just bring this up right now as far as Mark Andrews goes in FFPC drafts. In the Big Gorilla, where is Mark Andrews going over the last couple of days? Well, we got about 3 dozen drafts of sample size here with Mark Andrews. Tight end 14, Mike. He is going at the 904. So this is interesting. Lamar Jackson was playing through injury last year, and Andrews obviously had to fight off target competition from Isaiah Likely. Both of those things should be eliminated this year. Jackson should be healthy. Likely is in New York. Your thoughts on Mark Andrews in 2026, Mr. Nazarek?
Definitely. I like him because, once again, here we are talking about a player that I drafted as my tight end 2 in the Pros versus Joes, and I believe it was in a nice round, wasn't it?
It was. You took him in. 903. Yes.
Yeah, it is so much value there. They extended him, and they did that because they knew they were going to let Isaiah Likely go, and they said, "Listen, it's not working the way it is. We're going to and fro." Mark works so well with Lamar, especially in the red zone. Mm-hmm. That's the guy you want in the red zone. And so I think it's a value. Is he could be a tight end 1 in this system. I'm not saying he will be, but he could be. And also, I think he's going to have a lot less down games than he did last year, just simply because Likely is not there. He's going to be playing more than 35 to 40, 45 or 50% of the snaps. I think you're going to see more than 60% of the snaps. And when they're in the red zone there, he's going to be in. Whether he blocks, he's a good blocker too, or, catches the ball, it's only good things can happen. And you can get him as a 2. That's fantastic.
Yeah, and you got him as a 2. As you said, as your second tight end in Pros versus Joes this year. Certainly a good pick by you and a guy that's falling in. And by the way, I'll just mention this right now. And I know this doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but I'll bring it up with the Superflex Best Ball Tournament, where quarterbacks obviously get pushed up in that format. Right now in that league or in those tournaments right now, Mark Andrews, granted, is going lower because the quarterbacks get pushed up. He's tight end 15 at the 10-0-10. Behind Ferguson, behind Kincaid, ahead of Juwan Johnson, ahead of Chigo Okonkwo. If you love quarterbacks and you love the quarterback position, play in the FFPC Superflex Best Ball Tournament. I'll state my case on this right now. Of all the tournaments we have, that one is further along than any of the others right now. That one will reach capacity before any of the others. So make sure if you want to play in the Superflex Best Ball Tournament for $35 to take your chance at $100,000 and draft the undervalued Mark Andrews in that, myffpc.com is where to go, myffpc.com. One more email here for you before we get into your final question here tonight, Mike. This one comes to us from Carl in Greensburg, Ohio. Carl, we appreciate the email. He writes, "What's up, fellas? Should I be rolling?" Oh, this is a question that we teased before, or a situation we teased before, Mike. Should I be rolling with Kalen Black or Jordan James as the backup to Christian McCaffrey this season? Thank you for the email, Carl. Mike, you mentioned this, that Jordan James is dealing with a broken rib right now. However, a broken rib is not knocking him out for the entire season. And if I know there's plenty of people who don't believe in McCaffrey that are watching this right now, and they want to be in on the backup. While it is Kalen Black right now, will that continue? Is he going to have that role over the course of the season? Do you envision Jordan James eventually taking that role and having that backup role to McCaffrey? Or do you envision it as kind of like, both of these guys sharing the role? This is a lot to unpack with the two guys behind McCaffrey. Mike, how are you weighing in on this right now?
Well, I remember right at the start of camp before Jordan got injured, the coaches were just praising Jordan James. They really like him. Of course, they like Kalen Black, but he's a rookie. No mention of Isaac Garendo because he tore his pec, and we're not even sure if he's going to be ready for the start of the season. So he's out of the picture right here. But I think the bottom line is that they know what they have because he's been there for a whole year, even though he didn't get much run last year. They know what they have in Jordan James, and when he's healthy, I think he's going to be the primary back there. They may mix in a little bit of Black here and there just to get him a little bit of experience. But if Jordan James is healthy come week one, I think that's who you're going to see on the field in the, quote, Brian Robinson role from last year behind CMC, assuming that CMC is 100%.
And I'll mention this too, just in FFPC Dynasty startups right now, with Mike's advice, and certainly Mike's going to change the ADP on this because he always does. But Jordan James going about 11 spots behind Kalen Black in Dynasty startups right now. Jordan James, a 17th round pick. Kalen Black, you got to pay up for in the 14th round. And if what Mike is saying is true, now is the time to buy the dip late in your FFPC Dynasty startups, which are available at myffpc.com. 2,200 Dynasty leagues over the course of the last decade plus. None of them have ever folded. Join now, myffpc.com. Compete against Dynasty owners like Mike Nazarek from ffmastermind.com there, and you can play fantasy football year-round. $100 is the entry fee. You can also play it for as much as $5,000. myffpc.com, the place to go for Dynasty startups, and the place to go for our last big question for Mike Nazarek tonight is the KFFSC Commissioner, one Ferrell Elliott. Take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Mr. Balky. Mike, you have a quality of professional sincerity to your presentation. I think that separates you from a lot of the pros out there. You may be my favorite pro. You may even get a pair of socks in Las Vegas. So look, what I'm really interested in talking to you about tonight, and I think this could be probably the best answer that we've had all year. We started the show that you're not going to get involved in business with CMC. So who's somebody else that you're not going to get involved with? A player that is of not of such high prolific attention, but is still a player that fantasy drafters genuinely count on. And then give us a guy that's a great sleeper, and you've come up with a lot of depth of knowledge tonight. Give us a guy we haven't talked about, not somebody that's going to back up somebody, but maybe you can go to Chicago and talk about that. I don't know. But find us a running back. Find us somebody that is your sleeper of the year.
Or Mike, and I'll just say this too. perhaps a receiver in Baltimore wouldn't be the worst idea to go.
You were trying to feed him.
No, I'm not leading the witness. I'm just wanting to wax poetic on this. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
Well, we've already mentioned that guy, so I'll try somebody else. Somebody, and I actually own this guy on one of my dynasty teams because I took him last year. He's a second-year guy, Trevion Henderson in New England. He's not starting. I know he's going to get some run, and he's going to have those long runs and all, but it just kind of puzzles me at this point in the draft and all with ADP that he's still going ahead of Ramondre Stevenson. It's going to be at least a 50-50 roll there. And when they get around the goal line, it's going to be Stevenson. And I don't want Henderson on my team, especially at the cost. What is he in the 5th round now? I considered him part of the running back dead zone.
Yeah. Right now, Mike, just real quick before you get into your sleeper, Trevion Henderson has fallen a little bit, but he's still borderline. 5-6 turn is where he's going right now. That is almost a full round ahead of Stevenson. Yeah.
So you skip the drafting running backs when the dead zone is there, and if you're going to take your 3rd or your 4th one, you aim for somebody like Stevenson 1 round later. Now, as for somebody that I'm going to try and draft a lot of that I really like, and he's not a sleeper, but he is healthy after being not healthy last year, serious ankle injury, Chris Godwin for the Bucs. Yes. I think he might actually be the number 1 there because Emeka Buka's got the sprained toe. Is he going to be healthy for week 1? You remember Godwin was like the WR1 in 2024 for like the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. And Mayfield loves to throw to him. They've got this instant chemistry. And guess what? He's healthy. He's look good in camp. And the value pick there, what is he in round 7, 8? 7. Yeah.
He's hanging out here with Cortland Sutton, man. He's just hanging out.
I will say this just real quick, if I can share my Chris Godwin story. My Milwaukee Brewers, I'm a Wisconsin guy. My Milwaukee Brewers were in the playoffs, ready to close out the New York Mets in the first round of the playoffs. And I came down to watch it at my buddy's bar, and I sit down, and not only did Pete Alonso, the polar bear, hit a home run off of Devin Williams, the airbender, for Milwaukee to send the Mets to the playoffs, which honestly was the last that was the last game of Bob Uecker's career, the great Bob Uecker, who called those games for the Brewers for 50-plus years. That sent the Brewers home. Not only did that happen that night, and Uecker died a few months later, the Thursday night game that night, guys, for the NFL was Chris Godwin piling up yardage and catches, and he had that nasty ankle injury, and I had him on, and people know who were watching the show that year, they knew how much I was in on Chris Godwin. Not only did my Brewers get eliminated, not only was that Bob Uecker's last game, but I lost Chris Godwin that season, which sucked. It was one of the worst.
Bad Thursday night for you.
It was a bad Thursday night. And now I'm excited about this year, and with apologies to Egbuka, I hope he's okay, but Mike's right. Look to the Godwin, because he might help you in the 7th round. Wide receiver 34 in the FFPC Big Gorilla right now. So
and Bulky did come full circle on that. Mike knows Uecker. They met him on Carson. They met in the green.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It was him and Dom DeLuise, and I'm trying to think who else would have been.
Rickles was there, but he wouldn't talk to anybody.
Who was the big Laker not Lakers? Yeah, Lakers fan. The woman, the actor that was always at all the Lakers home games.
Yeah. Damn it, Bulky. I could have told you if you hadn't asked.
Well, I'm asking you right now, and Diane Cannon.
Yeah, Diane Cannon.
Diane Cannon. So there you go. So a typical Friday night on the Carson Show: Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon, Dom DeLuise, Diane Cannon, and Mike Nazarek, and everybody tuned in to see Mike Nazarek.
I remember him.
Kind of whatever. All right, Mike. Mike, I have to ask you one last thing, and I know we've kept you way too long tonight. I appreciate your time. But for FFmastermind.com people, who are not for FFmastermind.com people, for people who have never subscribed to your website before, I want to give you the opportunity to tell them what it's like for you, who's been in the industry for 30 plus years, the type of content they're getting there. And of course, people who've never subscribed there before, maybe you want to dangle a carrot in front of them.
Oh, certainly, guys. And I wrote up a little spiel here because I am getting a little bit older. So if you don't, you have to excuse me here. I can't believe we've been here for 31 years, but it's a small business. I'm old school. Unfortunately, you can't sync your league up to my website and all, but we put out so many items during the preseason. The draft guide, it's almost 300 pages as it is right now. We're constantly updating things like sleepers and creepers, and I just released 12 guys not to draft at their ADP and 12 safe guys to draft at their ADP. So always coming up with new things on the site. The guide is $20. The weekly newsletters releases during the day, every day of the week. The market picks to click and flick for the coming week. Rankings on Wednesday, updated on Saturday. Constantly updating injury premium quick bits. We're known for our news page, quick bits, which is absolutely free. During the season, all of our injury content goes, all of it goes premium. And a lot of people appreciate that. Sunday morning, they check out the site, see who's inactive, if they had any kind of late injury notices and such like that. But really, the whole thing together is a Super Bowl package, $60. And of course, I've got to do this for you guys. Anyone that comes to the site, if you choose the Super Bowl package and put in the code FFPC18, that'll get you $18 off the $60 price, which is 30%, because I've been around 30 years now. And you get the whole thing for under $45.
All right, I'm posting this right now in the chat. So anybody who is seeing this or anybody who's watching this that's not hanging out in the chat right now, FFPC 18 will get you $18 off the Super Bowl package, right, Mike?
Yes,
that you said?
Super Bowl package, which is everything.
Yeah, which is everything. FFmastermind.com is where to go. I will, and Mike will not toot his own horn, but I will toot it for him. This dude has been doing it for 30 plus years. This dude has well over double-digit wins in the FFPC as far as leagues go. And this guy is obviously, I mentioned the Sports Illustrated Experts League. They had to disband it, Mike, because you kept winning it every single year. It is the place to go. FFmastermind.com. Mike, thank you so much for hopping aboard tonight. I want to thank you for your time. I want to thank you for all the great content and all the hard work you do on this. And good luck in Pros versus Joes, which not only have you drafted in over the last several years, more than several, but you've had a lot of success in. And the FFPC Main Event, you never know. Opera Doc and you might be coming on the show when you win the $1 million this year. Thank you so much for hanging out, man.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to you guys coming to Vegas, and it's going to be a blast, and I can't wait for the big party, the initial game. Wow, football is going to be back. About time.
3 weeks from today. It's going to be exciting. Yeah. Mike, I'll see you there. Be good. We'll talk with you soon. That is Mike Nazarek from FFmastermind.com. Fantasy Football Mastermind. Remember, you sign up for a Super Bowl package and you use the code FFPC18, FFPC18. You are going to get $18 off, which is basically 20% off the normal Super Bowl package. This, and Mike didn't say this, but I can tell you this from experience. That's the biggest discount he's ever offered on this show. So take advantage right now. FFmastermind.com is where to go for that. Woo! Ferrell.
That was wonderful.
So much good stuff from Mike Nazarek tonight. Hey. I feel like when it comes to guests like this, guys who have fought through the hyperbole, guys who are not looking for clicks, like Mike Nazarek, who is just looking to share his fantasy knowledge and expertise of drafting and being an advice website since Bill Clinton was president. This is the type of person you need to be listening to.
He was old school, and that was probably one of his subscribers calling in on his landline phone and leaving a message on his Panasonic answering machine that he bought back in the 90s. So that was great. It was just great.
It was fantastic. Hey,
this AJ Cat's got a nice question.
Yeah, so I just responded to him, but I'll throw it up on the screen.
I want you to answer it out loud.
AJS
that's rough.
APXP. Okay, here we go.
There's a lot going on there.
What is your dream roster comp through 4 rounds? Some combo of running back, wide receiver, tight end. I would not say, AJ, I'm dreaming of that, but yes.
I am.
More likely than not, through 4 rounds in an FFPC tight end premium format, I would like to have an elite tight end. I would like to have 2 running backs through the first 3 rounds, and I would like to have a receiver there. I
think he's non-dependent. I think what he's asking is independent of draft position.
Well, yeah, I'm saying independent of draft position.
So you would want Gibbs.
Well, I mean, okay. Well,
You would want Gibbs as your running back. Who would be your other running back?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like,
Robinson.
if I could. Okay, Ferrell. Let's
join McBride. He's saying a dream. He said, "What is your dream?"
In a dream, Gibbs, Robinson, Bowers, and Chase. That is my dream.
It's a dream. That's a dream team. That's what he's dreaming. He's wants you to have a dream.
I will say this: if it depended upon where you start, running back or wide receiver in the first round, maybe in FFPC leagues, for sure Bowers in the first round. I can now get on board with McBride in the second. If I don't take Bowers in the first, but yeah, I would like to have two running backs through 4 rounds, a receiver, and if I can, an elite tight end, one of the top 4. Even with Warren going down today, I still would like. I still include him in the top 4. So that's the way I roll with it.
AJ, that's not a legal lineup.
It's not a legal lineup. You got to draft more players. That is.
I like your question.
Neither the FFPC or KFFSC features 4-man lineups, but maybe one day. You never know. Ferrell, speaking of leagues in the KFFSC, we got slow main events filling up. I'm doing one right now with the Craig Campbell Experience, which I said was going to be my team name, and I'm drafting against Craig Campbell, who was just on Extra Reps a couple of weeks ago. We have a couple of those going on right now that are filling up 2-hour, 4-hour, and 6-hour drafts. The next live KFFSC main event is going. You get a lot of late night stuff, which is great for people who are night owls or West Coasters. 11 p.m. on Wednesday night is the next live main event filling up. We got a couple of spots we have 4 spots left in the live in Louisville Big Payback. We have Sweet 16 Best Ball Championship is full. And then we got, I know you set this out in the mailer. We got 7 spots left in the Big Payback play-in, which I'm in, actually. 7 spots left in there, $100, and you can play your way into the Big Payback. But the big, and I think I'm burying the lead on this, Cincinnati is coming up this coming weekend, which is fantastic for you guys. Now, it sucks for anybody who wants to be a wish I had, because you're sold out for Cincinnati, but there are still a few live spots available in Louisville.
We're sold out in the Queen City of Cincinnati, but we do have an online draft that night called the Queen City Shutdown. And if you didn't get to play live or as one of our virtual guys during the live drafts, that's the spot for you to join some of the drafters that will be there live on Sunday and to play online that night. Balky, we've opened up the remaining 4 spots in that $1,000 Big Payback on Sunday, August 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern, and that would be a great league. If anyone would like to participate, I can walk you through it, but we've got 4 spots left. The dominant team in that league can win $9,000. That would be the top prize. The runner-up wins $1,000. Prizes at $2,000 are awarded after week 11. The total prize pool for that league, $10,000, and that's a really competitive and wonderful self-contained 12-team division. We need 4 people. It's been a wonderful time to experience this early of a sellout at our events. We'll be drafting around the clock for 3 days, and I can't wait to see everyone.
It's going to be great. I wish I could make Cincinnati, but I will make Louisville, which is going to be fantastic. And I can't wait.
Fantastic because you're there, Bucky.
Yeah, exactly. KFFSC.com. Register and draft now. Ferrell, we'll talk with you again on Friday for Extra Reps, my friend.
See you then, Bucky.
That is Ferrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, wrapping things up here tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Speaking of wrapping things up, wrap up your drafting night with FFPC Player One drafts. Draft against 11 computer smart players with the FFPC, 11 computer smart players. And once you register, you're drafting right away. You don't have to wait for the league to fill up. You can sign up for as little as $10. You can win cash, free main event entries, free Big Gorilla entries. FFPC Player One, now available at myffpc.com. I want to thank Mike Nazarek. Remember, FF Mastermind is where to go, ffmastermind.com. FFPC 18 is going to get you 20% off that Super Bowl package. Check it out because Mike is an OG. He has seen it all. He is not one of these guys that flails aimlessly in the wind with whatever's going on. He has his priorities. He has his convictions, and he sticks to them, and they've been very successful over the years. Mike Nazarek, Ferrell, Elliott, the FFPC, Rob Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you I have to thank. We will be back next Wednesday night with our annual KFFSC preview episode. Very excited to talk with the defending KFFSC main event champion, Dan Flamholtz, who I will see in a couple of weeks in Louisville for the KFFSC. Very excited for that. Dan and I always have a good time, and he won the whole thing last year. He'll tell us how he did it on our show next week. Insider Access is live at 7 p.m. tomorrow night on the Better Sports Network with Establish the Runs, Predict Q, and, of course, FFN60.com's Justin Herzig, who Rolling Stone named the greatest fantasy football player of all time, or at least the best one in the world right now. He is drafting a live FFPC Best Ball Tournament. I will be offering the play-by-play as he goes for $400,000. That is 7 o'clock p.m. Thursday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. HSFF Hour Extra Reps will be this Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time with FFPC League Champ and 2026 Pros versus Joe's Drafter, Griff Bushel. We're going to talk with him about everything we didn't get to tonight, plus a lot more. That is 10 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday night. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video, share it with your friends, share it with your enemies, and get notified each and every time we go live. More on that coming up on Thursday and Friday to tell you when we're going live on this channel. As our friend Vince Staffolino reminds us, you are officially over the hump right now.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Ferrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
So I'll answer this question. We got a question from on YouTube, NJF916. When is the next FFPC mainstream? So number one, in case you missed it, the FFPC YouTube channel chat drafted a team with Dave Terpoli this past Tuesday night of trying to win $400,000. It was awesome. If you missed it, watch it back on the FFPC socials. It was a lot of fun. We do have the next one coming up next Tuesday. Andrew Cooper from fantasyalarm.com is going to join us for a live Big Gorilla draft coverage beginning at 9 p.m. Eastern. As far as the main event, NJF 916, September 1st at 7 p.m. We'll have a very special industry guest on that show. But 7 p.m. is the next main event draft coverage we'll have. And then September 6th, which will complete our live stream coverage for the season. It is a 5K big payback at 8 p.m. Eastern Time that night on September 6th. Don't miss that as well. So 2 live streams left for FFPC coverage. And, of course, if you watch the Insider Access show on Better Sports Network, you'll get a bonus one tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for watching, everybody. Appreciate each and every one of you. And get in those draft rooms right now. We got Big Gorilla Midnight Draft tonight popping off. There's a few spots left. Check it out, myffpc.com. Make this year a year to remember. Talk with you again.